This signal came from a distance that's hard to even imagine. It sounds like this. It was discovered by accident, but after the first measurements, it became clear. Researchers had never encountered anything like this before. Some features of the signal are so unusual that there are still lively scientific debates about it. Why does it attract so much interest? And what theories are scientists considering today? I'll tell you now.
What would you do if an extraterrestrial intelligence contacted you? Of course, after you've checked all the expired food in your fridge, you'd probably be baffled by this attempt at contact. Recently, it puzzled astronomers too. But let's take it one step at a time. We're talking about mysterious signals from space with no specific sender, as well as sudden radio bursts known by the abbreviation FRB, fast radio bursts. The latter are truly astonishing because of their persistence and duration over time, since the first signal was detected about 10 years ago. We've received about 40 radio bursts, the most recent of which was recorded relatively recently. Hello? Let's start with the technical details. What method did humanity choose to receive possible signals from extraterrestrial worlds? After all, you can't just tune in to something like 104.5 FM and hear, "Hello? This is Alpha Centauri greeting you." No, things happened in a much more mundane way. One day, two very smart people got together, Cocconi and Morrison. The latter was an American astrophysicist who worked at universities in Massachusetts and California, as well as at Cornell. By the way, his academic advisor was Robert Oppenheimer himself, the creator of the atomic bomb. So, after some time, scientists concluded that the frequency of neutral hydrogen is just right for receiving extraterrestrial signals. This most common element in the universe emits at a wavelength of 21 centimeters and easily penetrates seemingly opaque clouds of cosmic dust. Astrophysicists believed any advanced civilization would already know this, so they'd be transmitting and likely receiving signals at this frequency. But the calculations turned out to be too optimistic. In half a century, we've received very few messages from outside. One signal went down in history under the name WOW. It was received in 1977, lasted 72 seconds, but there are still debates about its possible earthly origin. It even got to the point of being ridiculous. There were theories that during the operation of the Big Ear telescope, someone in the lab simply turned on a microwave oven. However, regardless of that, the signal completely matched the expected characteristics of extraterrestrial emissions. In addition to the aforementioned attempt by extraterrestrial intelligence to contact us, if it really was them, science is also aware of the radio signal, SHG B02 plus 14A. It was detected, just like the WOW signal, by participants of the SETI project 20 years ago in 2003, and is considered the most likely candidate for artificial origin. If we are dealing with an attempt at extraterrestrial communication, it turns out that in this case, the unknown beings were persistent, since they tried to do this 3 times. Each signal lasted about a minute, and again, at the frequency of neutral hydrogen. Where did this signal come from? This is where things get really interesting. Thousands of light years from Earth in the space between the constellations Pisces and Aries, there is the void, meaning emptiness. There are no stars or planets there. And now, here's the question. What or who sent the signal from this area? The second amazing feature is the frequency of the signal. It was changing incredibly fast. If such a transmitter were installed on a planet, that object would have to rotate 40 times faster than Earth. And yes, the impulse never deviated from the hydrogen frequency, not even by a bit. All 3 times it was detected exactly at that frequency. No chaos at all. Only orderliness. What do astronomers think about this? There are many theories, and not all of them are related to hypothetical extraterrestrials. The possibility of a malfunction in the Arecibo telescope is being considered. Some astrophysicists also believe that we are dealing with an unknown cosmic phenomenon of enormous scale. However, this signal has not repeated in 20 years. Just listen to how strange and uneven it sounds.
Subtitles by Dima Torsok. Subtitles made by No er vi I stedet for å stå, stedet for stå, I stedet for å, stedet for. Subtitles by Dima Torsok.
It seems to me that through the interference, I can hear sounds that resemble voices. Maybe back then, in 2003, someone tried to reach out to us through the veil of 2,000 years and warn us about the hard times that would soon come upon the earth. Who knows? But is that really where it all ended? Not at all. After the arrival of the new year 2023 on the hydrogen frequency, astrophysicists once again detected a signal coming from the source, SSJ 0826 plus 5630. It is incredibly far away, 8.8 billion light years from Earth. That means the light from this object started traveling 5 billion years before our planet was formed. The signal was picked up by a huge telescope located in India, in the state of Maharashtra. It's also amazing that before this, we had only received signals from nearby galaxies, and now suddenly from the very heart of the universe. In this case, though, the effect of gravitational lensing came to our aid, which greatly amplified the signal and allowed it to reach us. The thing is, there was a massive cluster of stars shining near the path of the cosmic message. It helped deliver the signal. What else is known about FRB signals or fast radio bursts? Actually, we know very little about them, although scientists are actively continuing to study these phenomena. Such radio signals often come from deep space, so we can only guess about their sources and origins. But considering the repeated occurrence of some bursts, their catastrophic nature had to be excluded from the list of assumptions. For example, as part of the Canadian experiment conducted from 2018 to 2020, 38 radio bursts were recorded. And everything would be fine, but some of them were detected not sporadically, but with enviable regularity. Let's take the legendary signal, FRB 18916 J015860, loading. It repeated with varying intensity once every 16 days. The staff of the Canadian Chyme collaboration observed this process for more than 400 days in a row. The second amazing aspect discovered as a result of research on fast radio bursts is how energetic they are. In just a few milliseconds, energy equivalent to hundreds of millions of suns is released. What kind of cosmic monster could have produced such a signal? Previously, it was believed that certain periodic patterns were caused by the activity of black holes and the stars orbiting around them. Where did the still unexplained rare radio burst FRB 18916 J015865 come from? The source is located 500 million light years away from us in a star-forming galaxy. Right now, this object may already be dead, since its light has been traveling to us for 500 million years. But even that we can't know for sure. In such matters, helplessness is humanity's middle name. Some members of the scientific community suggest that it could be a magnetar or a pulsar emitting in the X-ray range. But those objects oscillate much faster, not just once every 16 days. There have also been hypotheses that this radio signal is part of a larger global cycle that we are not yet able to detect or understand. One thing is clear, chaotic and repeating FRBs are two different types of bursts. Humanity has always strived to see what is happening in deep space, but sometimes it can also be heard with highly sensitive equipment. It's also important to understand these signals. Who is trying to tell us something, and what are they saying? Or what unprecedented event could have produced the strongest echoes for humanity? That's exactly why a project called A Sign in Space was created, initiated by SETI. The idea is that ordinary people are given access to raw data collected by several telescopes. They are completely encrypted, and it's not even easy to open these files. But that's not a problem. Scientists from the SETI Institute have provided a manual that participants in the experiment will have to study on their own. Only after the user learns how to use the interplanetary file system can they begin to study the information provided by the telescopes. It seems like a great way to feel like a complete idiot, but seriously, maybe someone really will decipher an alien signal, discovering a plea for help or some kind of threat in it. At the same time, humanity will realize that the problem isn't where they all are, but something else. We are completely unable to interpret signals from beyond because there are no instructions attached to them. That's why we shouldn't categorically claim that other civilizations haven't tried to contact us. Maybe we just didn't notice it. And what do you say about the messages humanity has repeatedly sent into the void aboard its probes? If we imagine that somewhere thousands of light years away there's an intelligent civilization, when will our message reach them? Will humanity exist in the 31st or 41st century? When will the answer come? These are serious questions, because distances in space are no joke. Be sure to write in the comments what you think about all this. Maybe you'll come up with ideas for interpreting alien signals that could help scientists in the future. Who knows? You might even be able to prevent a global catastrophe. But first, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. All the best to everyone. Can space speak? Over many decades with the development of technology, we realize that yes, definitely, but what it's telling us, we don't know yet. And recently, scientists detected a strange signal of unknown origin. That wouldn't be anything special. It's not the first signal like this. However, what's interesting for us is that it's been sent to us for almost 30 years. It's just that scientists didn't know about it at first. What does this mysterious signal mean? Could it be that representatives of an extraterrestrial civilization want to contact us? The history of radio signals from space began for us in 1937, when amateur astronomer Grote Reber built the first radio telescope. This invention helped Reber create a map showing the radio structure of our galaxy, as well as find radio wave sources beyond the Milky Way. The scientists' work soon contributed to the discovery of non-thermal radiation. Let's take a closer look at what radio waves are. Since radio waves belong to the electromagnetic spectrum, their propagation speed is equal to the speed of light. Scientists have created certain projects to search for signs of extraterrestrial life in outer space, and it is radio signals that help detect such signs. One of the most well-known projects is called SETI, and it's worth saying that years of work have not been in vain. During this time, we managed to catch several interesting radio signals. For example, in August 1977, a telescope with the interesting name Big Ear, belonging to the Perkins Observatory in Ohio, detected an unusual and powerful signal. Wow. The scientist Jerry Eman was analyzing the data received from the telescope, and in the process, he discovered a radio signal lasting 72 seconds. The signal was narrowband and quite strong. This signal could not be called ordinary in any way, so Eman marked it in his notes with red ink and wrote "Wow" next to it. That's how the name stuck. It's also interesting that the signal was at the hydrogen line. What is the hydrogen line? It's a type of wave that's formed by hydrogen in a gaseous state in space. And it's believed that signals, whose frequency is in this range, could come from extraterrestrial civilizations. That is, the hydrogen line can serve as a kind of communication channel. At the time the signal was discovered, scientists were unable to determine its origin. And so, 40 years went by. And then in 2017, the scientist Antonio Paris suggested that the signal was caused by the comets 266P Christensen and 335P Gibbs, which are surrounded by clouds of hydrogen gas. Not everyone agreed with this version, including Jerry Eman. The scientist said that the signal was detected only once and never repeated. If the radio signal had come from the two comets, then the Big Ear telescope would definitely have detected a split in the signal. However, this did not happen, so it wasn't the comets. At the same time, it's worth noting that Jerry Eman does not claim that they were dealing with a signal from extraterrestrial beings. There may be another explanation for this, but we don't have a definite answer yet. And maybe we never will, as sad as that sounds. However, the story of strange signals doesn't end there. For example, here's another signal that is literally driving astronomers crazy, and it comes right from the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way. In the course of analyzing data obtained by the Australian ASCAP telescope, scientists recorded about 2 million different objects emitting signals. Then the scientists began identifying each type of object. They classified almost everything. There were even pulsars, but most turned out to be ordinary stars. However, it's not that simple. There was one object in the center of the Milky Way from which they received 6 signals over 9 months. The polarized radiation from the object was unlike anything observed before. The object puzzled not only scientists but also computers. No one could figure out what it was. To make matters worse, the discovery wasn't visible in either infrared or X-ray light. And on top of all the strange features, the signal disappeared in an inexplicable way. This happened even though it was detected by 2 radio telescopes at the same time. And the scientists' confusion only grew because a year later the signal was detected again. And just like last time, it disappeared in a mysterious way. What kind of object could be emitting such a mysterious and strange radio signal? It's definitely not just some star or pulsar. There is a theory that this is a special type of signal called a galactic center radio transient, or GCRT for short.
RT.
There are 3 more objects of this type, and even though it took a whole decade to discover them, astronomers still can't say for sure what they actually are. Of course, we can assume that the signal comes from an extraterrestrial civilization, but we can't understand it due to a lack of data. However, it's important to remember that signals of artificial origin usually have a much narrower frequency range. There are also theories that the galactic center radio transients are dying pulsars whose energy is already running out, and from time to time they emit radio bursts. Or they could be neutron stars that rotate in such a way that they periodically block each other's signals. A new telescope called the Square Kilometer Array may help shed light on such a mysterious situation. Its construction is expected to be completed in 2028 in Australia and South Africa. However, what if we actually received a signal from an intelligent civilization? Recently, scientists noticed a mysterious object sending signals. In fact, it has been sending signals since 1988, and all this time we didn't know about it. The object is 15,000 light years away from Earth. Explosions of varying brightness come from this object, but they occur every 20 minutes. Such precision. Earlier, scientists suggested that the source of the radio signal is a neutron star, a magnetar. This star has the strongest magnetic fields in the universe. This is exactly why something similar to an earthquake sometimes happens on magnetars. Cracks form on the surface of the star, releasing a large amount of energy. All of this periodically triggers bursts of gamma radiation and X-rays, and this can be observed from our planet. By analyzing all the magnetars known to us, we have determined that the interval of energy bursts ranges from several seconds to several minutes. The discovered object has an interval of 22 minutes. It may be a special type of magnetar. Well, is there a chance that we will receive a signal from an extraterrestrial civilization? Of course it's possible, but there are some things we shouldn't forget. The most important is the frequency range. Signals from extraterrestrial beings should be within the hydrogen line band, which we mentioned earlier, and that's between the frequencies of 1,420 and 1,662 MHz. However, it may be that a hypothetical civilization is not able to communicate exactly at these frequencies. This should be taken into account. Another point is the strength of the signal. For us to detect it, it has to be directed exactly at us. If that's not the case, then the signal has to be very powerful. Here, we need to consider the inverse square law. Signals that spread out widely weaken rapidly over long distances. And, of course, time. In the end, it all comes down to that. The signal might appear too early for us when our technology simply doesn't allow us to detect it. Also, keep in mind that the radio signals coming from Earth don't travel far into the universe. Because of this, the chances that representatives of an alien civilization will catch it are extremely slim. Of course, it's not zero, but once again, the speed of light becomes a barrier. After all, as you may remember, when we look at the night sky, we're looking into the past. In the same way, if aliens see Earth, they'll see a version of it that existed millions of years ago. And if they receive a radio signal, by the time they reach our planet, we will have been gone for a long time. By the way, there is a project called Breakthrough Listen, whose main goal is to scan the sky for any signs of extraterrestrial presence. According to a recent study, some of the signals we sent from Earth may have already reached distant stars. And it's possible that somewhere out there, an extraterrestrial civilization exists that could send us a response signal. Scientists say that the situation will become clearer by 2029. What do you think? Will we ever get a response? And what will it be like? Will this pose a threat to us? Or will we be able to peacefully coexist with those who hear us through the silence of the boundless cosmos? Have you ever wondered what the voice of the universe sounds like? What does it sound like? Surely many of you will say, but there is no sound in space. We wouldn't even hear our own scream there. The slogan for the famous sci-fi horror Alien went like this: in space, no one can hear you scream. Of course, the human ear can't hear sound in intergalactic, interplanetary, and interstellar space. However, in reality, it's not that simple. It's important to remember that sound is a vibration that travels as a wave through space. For sound waves to propagate, they need to travel through a certain medium. And such a medium, for example, can be interplanetary plasma. Plasma waves often travel from the sun to our planet. Their speed is very high, from 200 to 750 kilometers per second, since they move under the influence of the solar wind. Moreover, their frequency ranges from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz, which in theory can be heard by the human ear. Unfortunately, such a negligible amount of them reaches the Earth's surface that we simply can't hear it. However, there's no need to be upset, because in the ionosphere of our planet, plasma waves become radio waves. Thanks to this, the secrets of the universe become accessible to us. What does the universe sound like? How do sounds reflect the history of the cosmos? Let's start from the very beginning. Now you will hear the sound of the Big Bang. Let's move on to the solar system. This is what the sun sounds like. And here are the planets. This is what Mercury sounds like. And now here is Venus. Mars. Saturn. Jupiter. Uranus. Neptune. Pluto. Here we finally made it to Earth. These are the sounds of Ganymede, Jupiter's moon, and the only moon with its own magnetosphere. Now we're approaching the nebulae. They not only have interesting shapes, but they also emit curious sounds. The Crab Nebula. The Nebula. Venus. NGC 2392, or the Eskimo Nebula. This is the Horsehead Nebula. This fantastic-looking nebula is called the Cat's Eye. And here is its sound. Here is the sound of the interstellar medium. These are the sounds of the stellar wind. I know. Next, we move towards the pulsars. Here in front of you is the pulsar PSR 1257 plus 12. Here is the millisecond pulsar PSR J0 9520607. .088 23 plus 26 B020 26. B0833 minus 45.
5.
B0834 plus 06. B0329 plus 54.
4.
B0950 plus 08. 1920. B1929 plus 10. B0525 plus 21. B0530, B0531 plus 21-1. Zero B, 08 and 09 plus 74, B 74.
4.
9B0919 plus 06. This is one of the quasars. This is the exoplanet Gliese 486. This is the black hole SS0014 plus 81.
101.
And here is the Milky Way galaxy. the universe. An amazing place. We will never be able to uncover all its secrets, but at least we are able to lift the veil on some of its mysteries, and that's always pleasing to a curious mind. Which of the sounds presented impressed you the most? What earthly sounds does what you heard resemble?